1,500 feet above a burning forest, you step out of a Twin Otter into nothing. The wind hits you at 80 miles per hour. The smoke below you is so thick you can't see the ground, and somewhere in that inferno is a landing zone the size of a tennis court. You have approximately 90 seconds to find it, but that jump is months away. Today you are standing at the edge of a training runway at the North Cascades Smokejumper Base in Winthrop, Washington, looking at a 53-foot jump tower that rises above the tree line like a gallows. You are one of 47 applicants. They will select 15. The washout rate is 68%, and the training hasn't started yet. You are already a qualified wildland firefighter, 3 seasons on a hotshot crew. You have dug line, cut fuel breaks, and slept in the dirt while fire rolled over the ridge above you. You think you know what fire is. The smokejumpers are here to teach you that you know nothing. The physical standards are non-negotiable: 7 pull-ups, 45 sit-ups, 25 push-ups, a 1.5-mile run in under 11 minutes, a 3-mile hike with 110 pounds in under 90 minutes. You pass every standard, so does everyone else. These numbers are the minimum. The minimum gets you through the door. It does not get you through training. Day 1 of rookie training. You pack a parachute for the first time, a Forest Service Ram Air Canopy, FS-14. The packing sequence is 217 steps. Each step must be performed in exact order. Mispacked parachute can malfunction in ways that range from inconvenient to fatal: a line over, where a suspension line crosses the top of the canopy and collapses it, or a streamer, where the canopy fails to inflate and you fall at terminal velocity. You pack and unpack the parachute 11 times before the loft master signs off on your first pack. He examines every fold, every stow, every S-fold of the suspension lines. He says one thing: acceptable. Your life will depend on this packing. You will be packing your own chute before every jump. There is no one else to check your work. Your first training jump. You are sitting in the door of a DHC-6 Twin Otter at 1,500 feet above the ground. The aircraft is flying at 90 knots. The spotter, the most experienced jumper on the aircraft, is leaning out the door, reading the wind. He drops a set of streamers, weighted crepe paper strips, and watches how they fall. He calculates the exit point. He taps your shoulder. Get in the door. You put your feet on the step. The slipstream hits you at 90 miles per hour. Your hands grip the sides of the door. Below you, the landing zone is a clearing in dense timber, a meadow approximately 300 feet by 400 feet. Miss the meadow and you land in 100-foot-tall ponderosa pines. Get ready. Jump. You throw yourself out of the aircraft. The static line deploys your chute automatically on training jumps. The opening shock snaps your body upright. The canopy inflates above you, a rectangle of ripstop nylon that is the only thing between you and the ground 1,500 feet below. You grab the steering toggles. The silence is absolute: no engine noise, no wind roar, just the whisper of air through the canopy. You steer toward the landing zone. The ground comes up fast. You flare the canopy, pulling both toggles to slow your descent, and your feet hit the meadow at approximately 12 miles per hour. You execute a parachute landing, fall, feet and knees together, roll to the side. You are down, you are alive. Your heart is hammering so hard your vision pulses. You complete 7 training jumps in the first 2 weeks. On the 4th jump, the wind shifts during descent. You are headed for the trees. You steer hard right, barely clear the timber line, and land in a drainage ditch. You bruise your hip. You pack out your gear and hike back to the jump spot. Nobody asks if you are okay. They ask if the chute is okay. You are a qualified smoke jumper. Your first fire jump. The spotter leans out the door of the aircraft. Below is a lightning strike fire in the Bitterroot National Forest, 3 acres, burning in steep terrain, heavy timber, no road access. The nearest trail is 7 miles away. The only way in is down. 2 jumpers exit before you. You watch their canopies open and drift toward the jump spot, a small opening in the trees near a ridgeline. Then it's your turn. You exit. The slipstream rotates your body. The chute opens. You are descending toward a mountainside covered in burning timber, smoke rising in columns that distort the air and create turbulence. The thermal updraft from the fire catches your canopy. You rise 40 feet. Then the thermal collapses and you drop. The oscillation is violent, up, down, as you pass through layers of hot and cool air. You fight the canopy to the jump spot, flare hard, and land on a slope so steep you immediately slide 10 feet downhill before your feet catch on a root. You stash your jump gear, parachute, jumpsuit, helmet in a cache, mark it with flagging tape, and grab your fire tools, a Pulaski, a crosscut saw, and 2 days of food and water. You and your partner begin cutting fireline around the head of the fire, the uphill edge where the fire is advancing. You dig to mineral soil, cutting through duff, roots, and deadfall, creating a 3-foot-wide strip of bare dirt that the fire cannot cross. You work for 14 hours straight. The fire is above you. Embers rain down. The smoke is so thick you breathe through a bandana soaked in water. Your eyes burn. Your arms cramp. The fire hits your line at 2 in the morning. It reaches the dirt. It finds no fuel. It dies at your feet. You sit in the ash and drink warm water from a canteen. The stars are visible through the smoke column. 3 seasons in. You are a qualified sawyer, the smoke jumper who carries and operates the crosscut saw, no chainsaws. Smoke jumpers in wilderness areas use crosscut saws because motorized equipment is prohibited in designated wilderness. The crosscut is a 6-foot, 2-person saw that weighs 22 pounds and cuts through a 30-inch Douglas fir in 8 minutes of continuous pulling. You are the strongest and most technically skilled member of the jump crew. You fall hazard trees, burning trees that threat to drop across your fire line, by cutting them in the direction you choose, reading the line, the wind, the fire behavior, and the structural integrity of a trunk that may be burning from the inside out. A burning snag, a dead standing tree, leans over your fire line at 30 degrees. It is 80 feet tall and has been on fire for 6 hours. The interior is hollow. You approach it, assess the structural base, and make your cuts, an undercut on the fall side, then a back cut on the opposite side. The tree begins to move, but the interior collapse shifts its center of gravity. It rotates 40 degrees off your intended fall line. Your partner screams. You dive sideways. The tree hits the ground 12 feet from where you were standing. The impact shakes the ridge. You sit in the dirt and stare at the fallen tree, 12 feet. You stood up, brushed off, and went back to work. That night, lying in your sleeping bag on the ridgeline, you replay the moment. The sound, the rotation, the 12 feet. You do not sleep. You lead a stick, a team of 8 jumpers. You are the first one out of the aircraft. If the jump spot is bad, you land in it first. If the terrain is worse than reported, you handle it first. If the fire behavior has changed since the reconnaissance flight, you figure it out first. A 200-acre fire in the Frank Church Wilderness, central Idaho, the most remote wilderness in the lower 48 states. No roads within 30 miles, no cell service, no helicopter landing zones. You and your stick jump in with 48-hour supplies and hand tools. You are alone. The fire is running uphill through beetle-killed lodgepole pine, standing dead timber that burns like matchsticks. The fire behavior is extreme. 100-foot flame lengths, ember showers a quarter-mile ahead of the main fire, and spot fires igniting across the ridge in a pattern that threatens to surround your position. You make the call, disengage. You pull your team off the line and retreat to a previously identified safety zone, a rocky outcrop with minimal fuel. You deploy your fire shelters as a precaution, aluminum and silica cloth tents that reflect radiant heat. The fire roars past your position. The radiant heat through the shelter is intense. The temperature on the outside surface reaches 600 degrees. Inside, you press your face into the dirt and breathe through the filtered air pocket at your ankles. You lie there for 47 minutes. The fire passes. You emerge. The forest around you is black. Nothing is alive. You radio dispatch from a sat phone. All personnel accounted for. Continuing operations. You rebuild your fire line from the burned edge. Nobody mentions the shelters. In the smoke jumping community, deploying a fire shelter means you were in a position where you might have died. There is no bravado about it, only quiet acknowledgement. 8 seasons. You are a spotter, the most critical position on the aircraft. You are responsible for selecting the jump spot, calculating the exit point, reading the wind, assessing the terrain, and clearing every jumper out of the aircraft safely. If you choose wrong, people land in trees, in cliffs, in fire. Your judgment is the margin between a routine jump and a catastrophe. You lean out the aircraft door at 1,500 feet with no harness because the harness restricts your range of motion. You hold onto a bar welded inside the fuselage with one hand. With the other, you drop streamers and watch them fall. The streamers tell you the wind speed, direction, and gradient at multiple altitudes. You calculate drift, the distance a jumper will travel horizontally during a 1,500-foot descent at an airspeed of 0. On a calm day, drift is negligible. On a gusty day, a jumper can drift 300 feet from the intended landing point. You see things from the air that others don't. The way fire behaves in a canyon, the chimney effect that accelerates flames up a narrow drainage at 50 miles per hour. The way a ridge creates mechanical turbulence that can collapse a canopy. The way a single spot fire a quarter-mile ahead of the main burn can become 100 acres in 30 minutes if the alignment with slope and wind is right. You have jumped 217 fires. Each one taught you something. On a fire in the Salmon River breaks, the exit point you've calculated puts the jumpers over a thermal column. You call it off. The pilot circles. You recalculate. You move the exit point a quarter-mile upwind. The jumpers land clean. Nobody questions your decision. Not because they trust you blindly, because they know you would not change the plan unless it mattered. You are the operations chief, the person who coordinates all smoke jumper activity for the base. Multiple fires, multiple aircraft, multiple sticks deployed simultaneously. You manage logistics, weather, resource allocation, and the prioritization of fires in a landscape where dozens can ignite in a single lightning storm. A dry lightning event produces 67 new fire, starts across 4 million acres of wilderness. Your base has 42 jumpers available. You assign 2-person sticks to the highest priority fires, those threatening structures or critical watersheds. The remaining fires are monitored but not engaged. You make these decisions knowing that an unattended 2-acre fire can become a 2,000-acre fire overnight if the conditions change. You spend 18 hours in the dispatch room. The radios are constant status reports, weather updates, resource requests. A stick on a fire in the SAWYER Bitterroot reports that the fire has blown up beyond their capability. You order them to disengage and hike to a pickup point. Another stick reports a jumper with a suspected broken ankle from a landing. You coordinate a short-haul helicopter extraction from terrain too steep for a landing. At the end of the day, every jumper is accounted for. 33 fires were engaged. 22 were controlled within the first burning period. 11 continue to burn. You go home and eat standing up. You set your alarm for 4 hours. You will do this again tomorrow. You run the smokejumper base. 60 jumpers, 3 aircraft, a loft operation that packs over 600 parachutes per season, a training program that turns qualified wildland firefighters into people who jump out of airplanes into burning forests. Budget, staffing, safety, equipment, standards, all of it is yours. You testify before a congressional subcommittee on wildland fire management. The committee wants to know why firefighting costs have increased 300% in 20 years. You explain, longer fire seasons due to climate change, decades of fire suppression creating unnaturally dense forests, and the expansion of the wildland-urban interface, homes built in fire-prone ecosystems. The committee nods. They approve a budget that is 12% less than what you requested. You make it work. You always make it work. But the cuts mean fewer training hours, deferred equipment replacement, and a parachute inventory that is aging past its recommended service life. You flag this in writing. The paperwork goes into a filing cabinet in a regional office. You attend the annual memorial for firefighters killed in the line of duty, smokejumpers, hotshots, engine crews, helicopter rappellers. The names accumulate. You know too many of them. You stand at the memorial and read the names and remember the people behind them, their jokes, their habits, their faces under hard hats covered in ash. A fire that changes everything. A crew is deployed to an initial attack fire in a canyon. Wind event forecasted, but arrives 6 hours early. The fire crowns spreading through the treetops at speeds exceeding 3 miles per hour. The crew attempts to retreat to a safety zone. The fire overruns their position. You are in the dispatch room when the emergency traffic comes across the radio. Mayday, 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 we are deploying shelters. The voice is calm. Training makes it calm. Behind the voice you can hear the fire, a roar like standing behind a jet engine. Then static. You send every available resource. Helicopters, engines, crews. The fire burns for 6 hours before conditions moderate enough to allow access. You arrive by helicopter. Deployment site is a blackened scar on a hillside. The shelters are there, crumpled, scorched. 2 firefighters survived. 1 did not. The investigation takes 6 months. You testify. The report identifies contributing factors, an unexpected wind shift, communication gaps between reconnaissance aircraft and ground crew, and terrain that limited escape route options. The report does not use the word blame. It uses contributing factors and lessons learned. You read it 12 times. You attend the funeral. You wear your dress greens. You carry the flag. You hand it to the family. You have nothing to say that is adequate. You say what you always say. I am so sorry for your loss. The words are true and completely insufficient. You go back to the base. You rewrite the safety protocols. You mandate new weather monitoring requirements. You train every jumper on escape route assessment with an urgency that comes from a place nobody wants to understand firsthand. You are 54 years old, 30 seasons, over 450 fire jumps. You have jumped in every forest type in the western United States: ponderosa pine, lodgepole, Douglas fir, spruce fir, chaparral, grass, brush. You have seen fire do things that are not in any textbook. You have been inside a fire shelter once. You have buried 1 friend. You have trained 112 rookies, and every one of them is alive. Your body tells the story. Your knees grind from hundreds of parachute landings on uneven terrain. Your shoulders ache from decades of pulling a crosscut saw. Your lungs have reduced capacity from 30 seasons of smoke inhalation. The pulmonologist calls it chronic occupational exposure and recommends you stop smoke exposure. You laugh. You do not explain why. You make your last jump on a clear September morning. A small fire in the Bitterroot, 2 acres, single tree torching, standard initial attack. You jump first as always. The canopy opens clean. The drift is minimal. You land in the meadow right on target. You stash your gear, pick up a Pulaski, and start cutting line. The fire takes 4 hours. You and your partner contain it before dark. You sit on a log and eat a sandwich that has been in your PG bag since morning. It is smashed and warm and perfect. The forest around you is quiet. The fire is out. The smoke is thinning. Through the haze, you can see the ridge where you deployed a shelter 9 years ago. You look at it for a long time. Your partner asks if you're okay. You say yes. You are not sure if that is true. You fly back to the base on the last plane of the day. The Twin Otter banks over the Cascades. You look down at the landscape, the rivers, the ridges, the dark green blanket of timber stretching to the horizon. You have jumped into every valley you can see. You know this landscape the way a sailor knows the sea, not from above, but from inside. You land, you pack your chute one last time. You fold it with the same 217 steps you have performed over 4,000 times. You stow it in the loft. You hang up your jumpsuit. You walk to your truck. You sit in the cab and look at the base through the windshield. The jump tower, the loft, the aircraft on the tarmac. You start the engine. You drive away. Somewhere behind you, a lightning bolt touches a ridgeline and a tree begins to burn. Someone else will jump.